The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
By raising our IGR from partisan overall.
Where we at the National Office will focus on going to convention.
And as a child of God, as one who fear God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event in the.
It's a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to tap and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Pankonkon mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalam. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
Good evening, viewers. I welcome you to another edition of your program, Abuja Weekly Fire. I am your host, Folashade Abdusalami. In today's package, as usual from Abuja, we'll serve you reactions on the Supreme Court's judgment that affirmed the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the February 25 presidential election. A 7-member panel of the Apex Court had in a unanimous decision dismissed 2 separate appeals challenging the victory of President Tinubu in the February 25 presidential election. The appeals were filed separately by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the PDP and Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. The Apex Court rejected fresh evidence on Tinubu's academic records obtained from the Chicago State University in the United States on grounds that it was filed out of time. Shortly after the judgment was announced, all roads led to the State House, where associates, loyalists of the president stormed the villa in their numbers on solidarity visit. While receiving the guest, the jubilant Tinubu restated his commitment to continue to serve Nigeria with honor, irrespective of ethics, religious, or political differences. Earlier in the week, the president presided over a Federal Executive Council meeting where key decisions were taken. Other top events of the president was the launch of the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem, while the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms submitted its preliminary report to the president. Also, expect detailed reports from the National Assembly as well as reports from the political scene, MDAs, and sundry events. Stay tuned.
President Bola Tinubu has assured the business community of improved foreign exchange liquidity in the days ahead, even as he said Nigerians will honor legitimate foreign exchange obligations. This comes with a target of $1 trillion economy by 2026 and a leap to $3 trillion within a decade. The president added that Nigerians can achieve these goals with double-digit inclusive, sustainable, and competitive growth. President Tinubu stated this on Monday in Abuja while declaring open the 29th Nigerian Economic Summit, emphasizing the need for collaboration with the private sector in financing a $3 trillion national infrastructure stock within a period of 10 years.
English ladies and gentlemen, $1 trillion economy is possible. By year 2026. And a $3 trillion economy is also possible within this decade. We can do it with double-digit, inclusive, and sustainable competitive growth.
Also on the cards is the student loan program to take effect by January 2024, consumers credit scheme, and the construction of affordable homes across the country at record pace. The president harped on the urgent need to end poverty, achieve food security, grow the economy, create jobs, and ease access to capital across socio-economic groups. He listed inclusivity, security, fairness, the role of law, and anti-corruption as key components of the package.
My government has introduced ZEFRA, measures to resuscitate the economy, including 500 billion naira intervention to support small-scale businesses and the agricultural sector. By January 2024, the new student loan program must commence. To the future of our children and students, we are saying no more strikes. There must be consumer credit. The scheme we have to come to effect as soon as possible.
In the meantime, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, boss Niyi Yusuf, noted that with more than 133 million multi-dimensional poor Nigerians, a multi-trillion-dollar economic growth trajectory will require macroeconomic stabilization program supported by conscious security efforts to halt organized crimes in crude oil and the solid mineral sector.
To halt all forms of syndicated and organized crime around crude oil and solid minerals. 2. A Made in Nigeria agenda. To make in Nigeria, however, 2 striking drivers must be put in place. First, the National Emergency Energization Program to ensure easy access to stable, predictable, and affordable electricity supply. Second is the creation of the National Infrastructure Corridor Development Program that will ensure an integrated linkage and logistic network that will link value chains to sea, land, and airports. 3 is a national job creation plan that drives the creation of huge volume of high-quality jobs.
The Nigerian Economic Summit is organized annually by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning. It was all smiles as Nigeria floored the process and industrial development in a United Kingdom court and escaping an 11 billion arbitration award to P&ID. Reacting to the judgment, also on Monday, President Bola Tinubu described the legal victory as victory for Africa. The president commended Justice Robin Knowles of the Commercial Courts of England and Wales for prioritizing the merits of the case above other considerations. Nigeria's Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, relayed the president's reaction, saying nation-states will no longer be held hostage by economic conspiracies between private firms and corrupt officials who conspired to extort the very nations they swore to defend and protect. Fagbemi added that the judgment was a damning indictment of predatory international investors who should be deterred from prey upon Nigerians and other developing nations to satisfy their greed. Jacob.
This successful result is a decisive victory for the people of Nigeria who stood to lose over 11 billion United States dollars for the Nigerian administration, and for the Nigerian administration, which has now reached a milestone in its mission to challenge the scourge of corruption. The judgment also serves as a damning indictment of predatory international investors who should now rightfully be deterred by preying upon Nigeria and other developing nations to satisfy their greed.
Meanwhile, Information Minister Mohammed Idris further disclosed that there will be a hearing by the United Kingdom court to determine cost payable to Nigeria by P&ID and others in matter.
A very delightful moment during the Federal Executive Council meeting when the news filtered in that Nigeria had indeed won this case, and of course, as expected, the President was very elated, so also members of the Federal Executive Council.
At the third Federal Executive Council meeting held and presided over by President Bola Tinubu, the creation of a humanitarian and poverty alleviation trust fund under a governing board was approved. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, made the disclosure after a FEC meeting, saying the fund is a flexible form of financing aimed to help Nigerians' emergency response to humanitarian crisis and address poverty in the country. The minister further stated that the federal government hopes to inject at least $5 billion annually into the trust fund as contributions from various sources, including government, private sector, development partners, philanthropic individuals, and other legitimate sources. The minister also said the governing board will include the Minister of Finance and other top government officials that may be relevant to the trust fund.
Grateful to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today for the approval given for the creation of the Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation Trust Fund. This is a flexible form of financing that can help us get contributions from different sectors. So we're going to have contribution from government, of course, from the private sector, development partners, individuals, philanthropic individuals, and other innovative form of crowdfunding and pulling of funds together. This is to allow for emergency response to humanitarian crisis in Nigeria.
The Ministers of Finance, Education and Solid Minerals also briefed to disclose various approvals given by the Council to the ministries. Key among them include financing to reduce the number of out-of-school children and development of technology to curb illegal mining across the country.
Financing for the girl child, $700 million is the size of the current project. About the $10 billion. I had said that in terms of the, earlier today, that in terms of the all-important liquidity in the foreign exchange market to get it to start functioning where demand and supply can at least equate around a relatively stable price, which is what investors, manufacturers, and indeed the general public require.
And we've also traced incidents of banditry to the handiwork of illegal miners, especially foreign illegal miners. Some notorious foreigners who come to our nation sponsor banditry in the local areas with a view to driving away the local population and then moving in to start extracting, exploration and extracting our minerals. It's technology that is helping us to decipher all of this. So we are investing more heavily in injection of technology into our security architecture. And that's making a huge difference. Like I said,
it's the same amount of money which the finance minister referred to. So it is not a different source. And it's a very big intervention and enlargement of an existing policy. The government is concerned, our president is concerned that no girl should be out of school on grounds of poverty, and particularly at the foundation level of pre-tertiary education, the basic education level, secondary schools. And under that scheme, we'll be having close to 500 new schools across the country, especially in the participation.
Meanwhile, the humanitarian minister, Betta Edo, had disclosed Nigeria's commitment pact on the African Charter on the protection of other persons, explaining that this will make Nigeria one of the countries in Africa to have adopted measures to ensure that other persons are treated with dignity and respect as equal members of society. President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday received a preliminary report on quick wins achievements by the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms as part of the immediate measures to reposition the country's tax administration. Briefing State House correspondents after a meeting with the President, the chairman of the Presidential Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, said the committee, which is saddled with the responsibilities of reforming fiscal, government revenue transformation, and economic growth, has since been speaking with key stakeholders on how to evolve critical reforms. The committee is mandated to reform the tax system to support sustainable development, while at the same time achieving a target of 18% tax to GDP ratio within the next 3 years. Oyedele said the committee was at the phase of rewriting the nation's tax laws towards providing clarity through social engagements.
This is just, milestone number one is what we call the quick wins. The second phase, where we are now, is the critical reforms. Those critical reforms involves even rewriting our major tax laws, addressing something that everybody in this room will be very much familiar with: multiplicity of taxes. We have over 60 taxes and levies officially collectible by federal government, state government, and local government. Unofficially, those taxes are over 200, making life difficult for our people. So the objective we have, and that's what we're working towards, is to bring all of that to a single digit.
The committee was inaugurated on the 8th of August 2023. The Tax Reform Committee is made up of experts from both the public and private sector. President Tinubu on Thursday launched the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem and appeal fund, just as he approved 18 billion naira for the payment of insurance and other entitlements of servicemen who lost their lives in the line of duty. The president assured that his administration will continue to strengthen the nation's entire security architecture for better performance. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem remains a symbol of remembrance and a beacon of hope for a peaceful future.
And to underscore this government's commitment to their welfare, I have approved the sum of 18 billion naira for the payment of the group life assurance benefits. Benefits and other entitlements to the families of service members who lost their lives in line of duty. I encourage all to donate generously in support of our veterans and dependents of fallen heroes, and to encourage us, all of us, to donate generously. On this note, my esteemed veteran, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to launch the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration emblem and appeal fund.
The Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badru, who spoke at the event, reiterated the invaluable contributions of ex-service personnel and war veterans to the survival and continued existence of the Nigerian state. He affirmed the government's commitment to training and retraining of armed forces personnel.
Regrettably, some of our gallant officers and men have paid the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. Many as well have sustained varying degrees of injuries that have incapacitated them. Our service personnel and veterans deserve the best, and the best they will get, we are sure, from you. We promise to train and equip our armed forces personnel with combat capabilities and modern ways to reduce casualties during operations.
Also at the launch were the leadership of the National Assembly and heads of the various security and intelligence agencies. The Nigerian Armed Forces Remembrance Day is observed on January 15 annually. Following his victory at the Supreme Court in the election petition filed against him by opposition parties, President Bola Tinubu said the victory will ginger him to give his best to the country. President Tinubu said his renewed hope agenda for a greater and prosperous Nigeria has gained momentum, assuring that he will continue to work towards building a country that meets the collective yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. While commending the Apex Court on the justice done to all issues put up for consideration in the petition without fear or favor, President Bola Tinubu expressed willingness to welcome contributions of all Nigerians in order to foster and strengthen collective progress.
And more hard work, more dedication. And just appeal to the sense of patriotism of Nigeria to have a change of mindset. Let us be positive about our country. Be ready to contribute in all ways possible. There's no promise of El Dorado from day one. We're all in this boat of diversity, a member of the same family, living in the same house, but staying in different rooms. And it is important that we recognize that we have no other country but this one.
A number of APC chieftains were at the presidential villa after the court ruling to rejoice with the president on the court victory. Prominent amongst the guests was the former president Goodluck Jonathan, who paid President Tinubu a solidarity visit and urged political leaders in the country to close ranks in the interest of the country.
This happened actually is almost like a week ago, but we couldn't. And today, it now coincided with the judgment of the Supreme Court yesterday, so it was an opportunity for me to also to congratulate Mr. President, and we talked a lot about the country. And so you'll soon see me, because there are certain things we discuss, and the country must move forward. And elections are over, so we must move forward.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, also urged opponents of President Tinubu to accept defeat and be ready to work with the government to move Nigeria forward, noting that the victory was for all Nigerians.
They should take heart. There is always one victor at a time. This is Asuaju's time. They should all take heart, come and join hands with him so that we move Nigeria to a greater level.
Only for APC is a success even for other political parties and a success for Nigerians. This has indicated that democracy is getting matured in Nigeria because politicians, after election, instead of resorting to, infight, resorting to causing confusion, we resort to the judiciary.
And the Supreme Court has clearly made it that a winner has emerged, and that winner is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in person of His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu. He is going to be the president of this country until 2027.
It's quite exciting because now we're going to move ahead. I know that our President, His Excellency, President Tinubu, has great plans for the nation, and particularly like in my state. And I wouldn't want us to miss out on that at all.
So I think it's now time for everyone to get together so that we can rebuild our country, rebuild the economy, support Mr. President, and I'm sure Mr. President will be more than happy to call on all those, even those who have taken him to court, to call on them to come and give their contributions, because as far as this country is concerned, we need everybody in order to move on. And I think that's the right direction to go, so I congratulate Mr. President.
Others on the solidarity visit were Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos, Dapo Abiodun, Ogun State, and Yaya Bello of Kogi. According to them, President Tinubu and the APC worked hard for the victory. They described the verdict as comforting and an affirmation of the will of the people. The governors called on the oppositions to support the government's renewed hope agenda in the overall interest of the Nigerian people.
That is run and governed by a constitution. We all need to abide by those constitutions. And I think the highest, judicial body in our country has expressed themselves, very clearly. And there were no dissenting voices. It was all 7 of them that were on the same page. And so what that tells us is that whatever might have been a difference, let's put that behind us. It's a victory for all. I'm sure Mr. President too would have alluded to that.
Our opponents can now go to sleep, or they can now congratulate our president. And if they actually did mean well for this country, you aspire to an office because you believe that you can offer the country the representation that it deserves. But it must not be a do or die. If that opportunity does not present itself for you now, and the courts and the people have chosen who they want, if you really do mean well for the country, what you need to do is congratulate that person.
This particular decision of today of the erudite jurists have further enriched our jurisprudence. And as well, it is clear, crystal clear to all Nigerians that our president won this election free, fair. And I congratulate INEC as well for a job well done. It couldn't have been better than this at this time.
The national chairman of APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule also joined in the celebration. It will be recalled that the Supreme Court had on Thursday dismissed the appeal filed by the opposition People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, as well as their candidates Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi respectively. From the National Assembly, the Senate on Tuesday swore in Amos Yohana as the new senator representing Adamawa North Senatorial District, replacing Elisha Abo, whose election was void by the Court of Appeal Monday last week. Yohana is a member of the PDP, while Abo is of the APC. The Senate also passed for second reading a bill to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007. The bill sought to address anomalies that constitute obstacles to the capacity of the CBN to effectively address deficiencies in the monetary system. Senator Dalinti Nwakocha, who sponsored the bill, said it will enhance investment and economic growth when it becomes a law. Other senators in their contributions called for a holistic amendment of the CBN Act.
Dear colleagues, I rise to move and to lead the debate on a bill to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007 and for matters connected therewith. To the Act, to strengthen the bank and make provision for the appointment of a chairman of the board, provide for responsibility to quicken and deepen execution of bank's mandate. This bill seeks to address all anomalies that has hindered the advancement of the Apex Bank to handle the ailing economy of our nation. The thrust of this amendment is to create a people-centered central bank by delivering price and financial system stability.
I'm proposing that we bring in one, the Auditor General of the Federation, two, the chairman of FIRS into the board, and lastly, that CIBN, the Chartered Institute of Bankers in Nigeria, which is the regulatory body for bankers, that they be represented in the board of CBN.
Ahead of the 2023 Osaka elections coming up in November 11, the Independent National Electoral Commission has urged election observers to strictly adhere to the code of conduct during the governorship elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa states. INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakub gave the charge at a meeting with civil society organizations in Abuja. Yakub said 7,896 observers from 145 organizations have been registered to monitor the poll in the 3 states. Yakubu assured the observers of their safety, saying that security agencies will be alive to their responsibilities.
I want to reassure you that we will continue to do so as we engage with the security agencies both at the national level and in the 3 states. At the same time, I wish to remind all accredited observers to strictly adhere to the code of conduct for election observation.
Tunde Babafunsho, who spoke on behalf of the CSOs, enjoined electorates in the 3 states to come out en masse and cast their votes.
It is our conviction that with excellent work done by Independent National Electoral Commission and with our experience for the excellent work they did during 2023 general election, the forthcoming Imo and Bayelsa State and Kogi State all-cycling governorship elections will also be credible with adequate and transparent credible arrangement already put on ground by Independent National Electoral Commission.
However, the Inter-Party Advisory Council has asked INEC to take advantage of the forthcoming Osaka governorship elections in the 3 states to restore voters' confidence in the electoral process. The body appealed to security agencies to remain neutral and to resist financial inducement by politicians. The IPAC chairman, Yabagi Sani, gave the advice on Tuesday at a meeting between the Commission and the political parties. Sani implored stakeholders to play their part in creating an environment that fosters trust and confidence in the electoral process.
I would like to, on behalf of all political parties in Nigeria, request INEC to seize the opportunity of these elections to deal with the issue of confidence among the citizenry following the outcome of 2023 national elections. The 2023 national elections presented us with numerous challenges and controversies, leading to enormous challenges in our electoral process. It is essential for INEC, as the custodian of our democracy, to address this issue comprehensively.
In an earlier remark, INEC chairman Professor Yakubu expressed concern over the highest number of judgments and court restraining orders that could disrupt the electoral process at different stages. The INEC chairman also expressed concern over the spate of violence in the states as the elections draw closer.
The Commission is concerned about the spread of recent judgments and orders of courts in respect of the nomination, substitution, or disqualification of candidates after all the sensitive materials have been printed.
From the House of Representatives, correspondent Linda Ike comes a report on the invitation extended to the governor of the central bank over the decision of the bank to lift forex restriction on 43 items. We'll also take a look at insurance as one of the sectors critical to the growth of the nation's economy, among other issues.
The House of Representatives has invited the Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadose, on the decision of lifting forest restriction on 43 items. This followed the motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Honorable Sada Soli on Tuesday during plenary. The House noted that the CBN imposed the restriction in June 2015 to conserve the foreign exchange reserves and promote local production of certain goods, including about 11 food items, and later lifted forests on restrictions placed on 43 items in October 12, 2023. The lawmakers are worried that some of the listed items enjoy 60 to 70% subsidy from their countries of origin, putting Nigeria local products at a comparative. They said that some of the items have tariffs to protect local industries as they are part of the import prohibition list. They expressed concern that the decision of the CBN will greatly affect local production of items and will force local manufacturers to hold the short end of the stick, which may lead to factory closure.
That in reality, the lifting of forex restriction on the importation of 43 items may not have meaningful impact on the rise in food inflation as a result of soaring exchange rate currently going on in this country.
The House asked the committees on regulatory banking, finance and customs to invite the governor to explain why the ban was lifted. In another development, the House of Representatives has called on government at all levels to include persons with disabilities in every program, both in the state and ministries. The House also called on the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to create a stand-alone status for them as well as review the National Social Register to accommodate persons with disability. The resolutions follow the motion of urgent need for specific recognition of persons with disability in alleviation programs, sponsored by Honorable Bashiru Dawudu on Thursday plenary. The lawmaker noted that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation recently launched Renewal Hope Conditional Cash Transfer (CCT) that involved the transfer of 1 trillion naira and 25,000 naira to 15 million households without set aside for persons with disability. Business news. Stakeholders in the insurance sector have harped on the need for insurance companies to make the industry more attractive. They also expressed concern over the increasing number of collapsed buildings across the country. Speaking at the 2023 National Insurance Conference on Monday in Abuja, the group chairman, Health Holding, Tony Elumelu, said insurance creates a critical role in the growth of the nation's economy and needs to be embraced in Nigeria. Elumelu proposed 30 billion naira capital base for general insurance and 20 billion for the insurance firms in Nigeria to recapitalize the sector, as well as recommended 1 billion recapitalization for brokers, stating that consolidated operators should have 50 billion naira.
I want to propose that we increase the capital base of insurance companies to 20 billion for each for life and 30 billion for non-life. I would like to call on our regulators to please review the dichotomy in insurance licensing and authorization between life and non-life. Consolidated operators can have 50 billion. We want to do both. Have 50 billion, which is life 25, 20, non-life 30. Rather, let us use regulation to shape behavior and enforce compliance in the sector.
Earlier, Commissioner for Insurance Olorudare Thomas said the National Insurance Conference is one of the initiatives of the Commission to achieve the objective of incentivizing the law enforcement agencies, state governments, relevant professional bodies, and all other stakeholders. Thomas added that the conference will also sensitize the general public and create the needed awareness of the place of insurance in redefining safety in Nigeria. However, he highlighted the initiatives and achievements of the Commission to facilitate improvements in national safety standards that will foster development of the Nigerian insurance.
The first of it is ensuring improved safety and soundness of the Nigerian insurance sector to continue to de-risk the economic activities of Nigerians through the enhancement of our prudential regulatory tools and good corporate governance practices. The There's also the migration of the Commission supervisory regime to align with global best practices. This initiative has enhanced the Commission's distress management and market restructuring.
The Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, stressed the need for all buildings and buildings under construction to be insured. Edun, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary Okokon Odo, said the constant collapse of buildings across the country is alarming and needs urgent measures to tackle it.
In view of the recurring incidents of building collapse in many states and even the Federal Capital Territory, the persistent incidents of building collapse in the country are alarming, and there is an urgent need to ensure compliance with the relevant provisions of the laws, particularly with respect to compulsory insurances.
The chairman, Zenith Central Insurance, Jim Ovie, harps on the use of technology to penetrate insurance distribution across the country. He lamented that some African countries have gone higher than Nigeria.
So we want to call Commissioner of Insurance with the contemporary colleague, Laboratory Central Bank, to see what it could do to partner with the mobile companies, MTN, and the rest of them, Blue and the rest, so that we can use the mobile phone to deploy insurance services.
President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday assured Nigerians and the international community that Nigeria's economy will soon bounce back. President Tinubu gave the assurance while flagging off the two-day Green Economy Summit organized by Niger State government in Minna. President, who was represented by the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abdullahi Sabi, pledged his continuous support for the Niger State Green Economy Initiative aimed at unlocking the vast mineral resources across the state. He gave insight into the newly approved Solid Mineral Development Policy during the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting held on Monday, stating that the policy will align and benefit the green economy that has envisioned for Niger State. Hence, the policy is emphasizing on removing all forms of illegality that is desecrating and destroying the environment.
Just yesterday at the Federal Executive Council, a new Solid Mineral Development Policy was approved, and this policy will definitely align and benefit the green economy that you have envisioned for Niger State.
The Executive Governor of Niger State, Mohammed Bago, who convened the first subnational Green Economy Summit, said his administration has produced its first Green Economy Blueprint, a strategic document outlining a visionary roadmap that will shape the development choices and steer actions for sustainability. The former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who graced the occasion, applauded Governor Bago for providing quality leadership since he assumed office. He thereby solicited the people's patronage for the green economy. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum, who expressed optimism that the summit will help in achieving economic transformation as well as employment generation, called for investment in irrigation. Linda Ike, MITV News.
Funke Adebayo brings you detailed reports from major court proceedings, developments in the non-governmental organizations, politics, and many more.
The Supreme Court on Thursday dismissed the motion by former Vice President and candidate of the People Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, seeking leave of court to file fresh evidence in his appeal against the victory of President Bola Tinubu in the February 25th presidential election. Atiku had in the motion dated 5th October, but filed on the 6th, pleaded the Apex Court to grant him leave to bring in additional evidence by way of depositions on oath from the Chicago State University for use in his appeal to wit. The certified discovery disposition made by Caleb Westberg on behalf of Chicago State University on October 3, 2023, disclaiming the certificate presented by the second respondent, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Ruling on the motion, Justice John Iyang Okoro held that a clinical look at the issues formulated by all the parties shows that the argument whether the court as presently constituted has the power to grant the motion. Justice Iyang Okoro held that out of the 7 issues distilled by Atiku for determination, none related or covered forgery, which the appellant is seeking to bring in. Also, the Apex Court dismissed the appeal by former Vice President and presidential candidate of the People Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, seeking to nullify the February 25th presidential election of President Bola Tinubu. In the notice of appeal, Atiku had urged the Apex Court to dismiss and set aside the September 6th judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court, which affirmed the victory of President Tinubu. A 7-man panel of justice led by John Okoro Iyang in determining the first issue for determination held that failure to transmit election results electronically did not affect the outcome of the election and could not warrant the nullification of the presidential election. The courts therefore resolved all the 7 issues distilled for determination in favor of Tinubu, stating that the appeal lacked merit. Also, following the judgment of the Supreme Court upholding President Bola Tinubu's election win, the Action Democratic Party ADP applauded the judiciary for promoting democracy. The national chairman ADP Yagapagi Sani, while addressing journalists shortly after the party's National Executive Committee's meeting in Abuja, commended the judiciary over the outcome of the verdict, adding that it has reaffirmed the dreams of the country's founding fathers of a united nation. Sani stated that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, and his team delivered the new Electoral Act process that produced governments at national and state levels, adding that the disappointment recorded in the process can be attributed to the learning process. The national chairman, however, appealed to other political parties and state governors to be more democratic in their activities to create an even opportunity for everyone to contribute to the administration of the country.
I want to seize the opportunity to congratulate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for being given the mantle of leadership to lead this country to the promised land. Dreams of our forefathers today have been further reaffirmed by the judgment of the court of the Supreme Court.
To promote positive attitudinal change towards negative circumstances in children, an Abuja-based missionary school has urged parents and teachers to educate their pupils on the need to get closer to God irrespective of the unpleasant circumstances they find themselves. The school proprietor, St. Philip's Academy, Esther Aderomose, made the assertion during a music concert organized by the school to nurture the attitude of praise early in children. She noted that the children could attain higher heights and live above fear and failures if they trust God despite the current challenges in the country. Aderomose therefore urged Nigerians to remain calm and call upon God to change the current difficult situation of the country with praises, knowing that God has the power to turn around the country's fortunes positively.
And that is why we want to inculcate it to our children, the students of St. Philip's Academy, that in whatever position, in whatever situation they find themselves, they should remember to praise God. And as they are praising God, everything about them will be well.
Also, the school chaplain, Timothy Edache, while addressing newsmen, emphasized the benefits of integrating faith-based routines in early childhood education.
It's breeding God's own children. It's not just on academic alone, but teaching them the word so that tomorrow they can become good and followers of God Almighty.
The National Association of CDOG has reaffirmed its commitment to collaborate with key stakeholders to bridge the gap in the healthcare delivery system in rural communities. The Kaponzuma-Dek National Association of CDOG's Nnamdi Eze made this known on Saturday during a medical intervention program called The Village Doctor in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Eze explained that the Village Doctor program aims to provide medical assistance to rural communities without strong hospital presence and access to other basic social amenities, adding that most families cannot afford medical care considering the current state of the economy. He further revealed that the program will assist over 500 to 1,000 patients with medical cases.
We hope to see between 500 and 1,000 persons. We hope to identify medical cases. We hope to attend to a number of them. And then we will, the ones who cannot attend to at this point, we will take it forward. We will assist them with medical bills. When we identify those cases and take it further to secondary hospitals, we will support them with medical bills.
Also, the National Coordinator Green Strides Development Initiative, R.C. David, while speaking on the rationale behind its partnership with NAS, emphasized the need to attend to the less privileged in vulnerable communities, adding that the current health challenges in the country need to be addressed urgently.
Community development is part of our focus, and this has to do with community medical outreach. That's why we decided that we should partner with NAS to be able to impact on the less privileged and vulnerable communities. And that's why we picked up this medical outreach. It's very important for the health of the inhabitants of the community.
Earlier, the medical maid Zumadek Ike Osinachi explained that the outreach provides basic medical checks, screening, and treatment of minor illnesses like ulcer, malaria, minor infections, and other related cases. He further urged the government to be consistent in the provision of quality healthcare to citizens neglected in many rural areas.
The healthcare team, you see, we have ophthalmologists, optometrists. They are seeing, patients with eye defects. They are giving them drugs. They are issuing them reading glasses, and we feel that, of course, from what we are doing today, this community will be able to save some money that they would have, attributed to drugs or take care of health problems.
Funke Adebayo, Mitv News.
And the last but not the least are other reports by correspondents Miriam and Nahimio.
The Defense Headquarters has revealed that on the 18th October 2023, following a tip of military troops of Operation Well 14 Arch raided the suspected criminals' hideouts in Amak of FCT Abuja and arrested 34 suspected criminals. Director of Defense Media Operations Major General Bernard Buba said this while briefing defense correspondents on troops' operational activities in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Major General Buba noted that the troops destroyed their accommodation and disclosed items that were recovered from them. General Buba also stated that the operations of the last week resulted in 73 neutralized terrorists, with 82 of them arrested, adding that troops also arrested 14 perpetrators of oil theft and rescued 68 kidnapped hostage. Major General Buba, however, noted that one of the top priorities of armed forces is to secure the country and protect citizens from harm caused by these terrorists and extremists across the country.
Operations in the last 1 week resulted in 73 neutralized terrorists, while 182 of them were arrested. Troops also arrested 14 perpetrators of oil theft and rescued 68 kidnapped hostages.
Meanwhile, from the education sector, the federal government has lamented that massive investment in the nation's basic education sector have not translated into desired results. Minister of State for Education Dr. Yusuf Sununu made this known while declaring open the 25th quarterly meeting of Universal Basic Education Commission Management with the Executive Chairman of State Universal Basic Education Board in Abuja. The minister also noted that despite the federal government's huge investment, interventions, and technical support, basic educational subsector, it is still bedeviled with unpleasant occurrences. Learners sitting on bare floors, high rates of dropouts, increased number of out-of-school children, poor infrastructure, dilapidated classroom building, inadequate learning facilities, inequitable access and low learning outcomes, which has resulted to the failing standard of education in our country. Sonunu said it is unacceptable that Nigeria parades the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, as well as the highest low literacy rates with a national average of about 60%. The minister, however, expressed the readiness of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration to transform the nation's education sector through the Renewed Hope agenda, adding that the federal government is ready to commit more funds to the sector to boost access and quality learning.
Mopping up of out-of-school children is a great priority of this administration. And as such, we in the ministry have tried to see how we can redesign our focus to ensure that where it seems to be a clash, rather than having it to be clash, we try to see how we can align so as to see how that we can have a common goal. It is also in this view that we have tried to constitute a roadmap committee. And the aim of also roadmap committee has to do with what we are doing today, trying to redesign and redefine our priorities so that they can match also with the 8-point agenda of Mr. President.
In the meantime, the Executive Secretary of UBEC, Dr. Amij Boboyi, called for new approaches to historically address problems of basic education sector. The UBEC boss also revealed that the Commission has successfully conducted the 2022 National Personal Audit Fieldwork and the Assessment on Learning Achievements, while saying UBEC is collaborating with relevant partners to address the problems in the basic education sector. Boboye decried the present learning poverty in the country.
While there are achievements in basic education worth celebrating, there are nevertheless other daunting challenges that should draw our urgent attention. One of these is the challenge of learning poverty at basic education level. It is therefore important for us to determine where more resources should be deployed to rescue the basic education subsector. Nigeria must also invest in digital technology-aided education.
Marian Inahimion, MITV, Abuja.
This is where we'll draw the curtain on today's edition of your favorite program. Join us again next week, same time, same station. I remain your host for Lashade Abdusalami, MITV, Abuja. Bye for now. Hello viewers, I welcome you to this edition of our program, Abuja Weekly File. I am Lashade Abdusalami.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer to monitor and evaluate.
By raising our IGR from Council of
where we at the National Office will focus on going to conversation.
And as a child of God, as one who fear God,
the driver of our project.
We also like to know what the scheme is doing.
Independence Day is a very historic event in the.
Is a testimonial you need to acknowledge.
I want to know if there is any plan or program.
So it is only for Nigerians to doubt and go to the next level.
And to align the service, the price paid by consumers with the quality of service that they receive from the utilities. So the power outage reporting system will help us in a long way.
And there's many people inside. They are sleeping there, but they take some to hospital. They take them to hospital. Some are dead, some their head has break, some are their leg, everything. They have taken them to hospital.
I'm not an abode for crime and criminals. My ancestral home was a forest, a thick Penkunkun mountain for safety from arrest, a home for hunting and farming in times of hunger and famine.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can support
the new House of Assembly and your agenda.
Join us next week, same time, same station. Your host, Folashade Abdusalam. Bye for now.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House is the barometer